Castration is the path to enlightenment. People who don't hand out their phone numbers are demons who should be beaten to death. You can live on nothing but coconuts. People actually believe this stuff. Remember, viewers, there's nothing cool about drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm Mike with List 25, and here are 25 jaw-dropping facts about strange cults around the world. 25. Bananas for sex. In 2009, a sordid story with a fruity twist was reported concerning a Papua New Guinea cult leader who had one wild belief system. An individual named Thomas Pelly was preaching a surefire way to a guaranteed banana harvest. All the villagers needed to do was get involved with his sex cult. This sleazy trade-off was rumbled and the authorities called. Last we heard, Mr. Pelly was on the run. Lesser media outlets say he split. But, we're far too classy to make that joke. 24. Castration cult. So many of these cults seem to revolve around sexual activity. Take the Heaven's Gate cult, which was led by a music professor whose beliefs led to a shocking mass suicide in San Diego in 1997. Professor Marshall Applewhite, together with Bonnie Lou Nettles, oversaw the mayhem. Applewhite was a repressed gay man who wound up having himself castrated as part of a bizarre plan to unite with aliens living behind the Hale-Bopp comet. Not only did this make him celibate, it was intended to banish all thoughts of intercourse from his and fellow members' minds. 23. Lifespring cult. Part of the ambitiously named Human Potential movement, Lifespring was the brainchild of John Hanley Sr., Robert White, Randy Revel, and Charlene Aframo. This fun-sounding bunch declared their intentions in 1974. Lifespring was reportedly intended to better humankind. However, reading over the details, it sounds like a demented sales team with a vague outlook. Recruitment or else seemed to be the driving force here. By the mid-90s, it had shut down, though not without courting controversy via its coercive techniques. Check out one of their mantras: "There is no hope." Not exactly what I'd call motivating. 22. Ripper Crew cult. This horrifying gang of four was notable for their use of a red van when driving around the streets of Chicago. In their sights were various women who were brutally abducted, tortured, sexually assaulted, and murdered. This was supposedly done for satanic reasons, though no weird belief system could justify such slaughter. Led by Robin Gecht, they killed as many as 20 victims. Their crimes were reportedly carried out between 1981 and 82. Thomas Kokorolice was later released in 2019. Gecht is still behind bars. Andrew Kokorolice was executed, and Edward Spreitzer escaped a death sentence. 21. Wrong number. The Eastern Lightning cult, founded in China in 1991, has some jaw-dropping and violent ideas about the end of the world. Also known as the Church of Almighty God, it has a Christ figure and a dangerous approach to the cause. In 2014, a brutal murder took place at a McDonald's when an innocent diner wouldn't give cult members her phone number. Apparently believing her to be a demon, they beat her to death. The pair responsible were later executed. 20. The Ryan killing. American Congressman Leo Ryan was shot and killed in Guyana in 1978. Holding the gun was the Reverend Jim Jones, leader of the People's Temple cult. Congressman Ryan and colleagues were investigating allegations of exploitative activities. Jones started the cult in San Francisco and had traveled to South America to live in a supposed utopia. The increasingly tense situation was building to the shocking Jonestown massacre in which 900 people died. Ryan died that very same day, making him a rare example of a congressman who was murdered doing his job. 19. Holy Rollers. This sounds like an upbeat kind of cult, but believe me, it ended in mayhem and tragedy. Based in Oregon, the Holy Rollers were formed in 1903 by Salvation Army man-turned-prophet Franz Edmund Crefeld. The group got their name from the way they would roll around on the floor in worship. There seemed to be a lot of rolling in the hay also. Tensions over these sexual relations boiled over, and Crefeld was shot in the neck and killed in 1906. 18. Belief in baseball. This cult may have been off the wall, but they sure knew how to hit a home run. The Israelite cult known as the House of David had great success on the baseball field. If that fact sounds unusual, Well, how about that they also had their own amusement park, or that they performed on the vaudeville circuit? 17. The High Priestess of Blood. Her real name was Magdalena Solis, but she earned her gruesome nickname through stories where she drank the blood of her victims. It didn't start with her, however. The main villains here are arguably Santos and Cayetano Hernandez, ruthless brothers who ran a sex and death cult in the area of Yerba Buena, part of the state of San Luis Potosi, in the early 1960s. These scam artists involved Magdalena in their schemes. She suffered from mental health issues and believed she was the embodiment of a goddess. She took over the running of the cult and eventually was jailed for 50 years in 1963 for her murderous activities. 16. Master Puppeteer. Cults back in ancient times were as crazy as you might expect. For example, there was a group led by one Alexander of Abonotikis who wound up worshipping a sock puppet. In approximately 160 CE, he convinced his followers that they were in the presence of a snake with a human head. In fact, they had been conned by a forerunner of Jim Henson. 15. The Kardashian Cult. Okay, so this isn't actually part of the Kardashian business empire, but the cult of Adnan Oktar has certainly talked about the iconic reality star as part of his belief system. The Turkish televangelist, currently behind bars for various crimes such as sexual abuse, had a major media profile himself. Though his show Building Bridges sounds more like a Playboy TV special than a serious religious broadcast. 14. Enema of the State. Can you perform a bodily cleanse using a plastic tube together with molasses and olive oil? Well, if your answer to that is a resounding hell no, then you certainly wouldn't have been welcome in the Ant Hill Kids Doomsday Cult. This was founder Rock Theralt's idea of medical procedure. The group got its name from the insulting way he viewed his followers, as he would treat them like ants working in his service. The commune/cult made headlines in 1970s Canada, and Therault received a life sentence for second-degree murder in 1993. 13. Oneida Silverware Cult. The Oneida company is known for its silverware. Maybe you even have some in your kitchen drawer. But did you know that the organization has weird origins in a sex cult led by an American preacher, John Humphrey Noyes? The culty stuff has long since been left behind, yet between the early 1840s and 1880s, the Oneida community practiced free love, with eyebrow-raising and questionable results. 12. The No Copyright Church. These days, we can't move because of copyright restrictions. One group who really doesn't believe in that kind of thing is the members of the Missionary Church of Copimism. The Swedish cult, or religious organization, was established in 2010. The name roughly means copy me, and they consider the copy and paste symbols on a keyboard as sacred. They reportedly don't advocate breaking the law. They just like people to have access to information. Well, that was my excuse for pirating the movie, Your Honor. Honest. 11. Freedomites. Nudity and arson don't really strike me as great bedfellows, but having said that, both were part of the Freedomites, a cult founded out of the Russian Doukhobors. The Doukhobors had been expelled by the church in the late 19th century. A large section of this community moved to Canada, but chaos eventually broke out in British Columbia. Tensions between the Doukhobors and the authorities led to violence and the imprisoning of 500-plus Freedomites on an island prison. Worst of all, the children of Doukhobors were the victims of terrible abuse by Canadian institutions. 10. This cult sucked. In the early 1970s, a cult named the Church of Bible Understanding was established by Stuart Trail. He used to repair vacuum cleaners, but gained notoriety as the head of an allegedly exploitative and manipulative organization. He stated that he was the reincarnation of Elijah, and while he made his name in a deeply suspicious fashion, the cult does have another weird claim to fame. Christian Brothers Carpet Cleaning was the business arm of the church. If that sounds familiar, well, you've probably recognized it from the Seinfeld storyline it inspired. 9. Manson and the White Album. It's well known that Charles Manson and his followers were violent and murderous when it came to celebrities. However, did you know he kind of considered the Beatles his allies? Manson figured the White Album from 1968 was subliminally communicating ideas about a war between the races in America. He famously twisted the meaning of the song Helter Skelter when his cult went on their vicious rampage in Hollywood, killing 9 people in 1969. 8. Carrot Cult. There was more to the Church Universal and Triumphant than a root vegetable, but the cult's dependence on carrots was enough to make even Bugs Bunny run a mile. Established by one Mark L. Prophet, and yes, that was his name, members needed to follow a raft of rules and regulations. To reach the literal heights demanded by these so-called ascended masters, you needed some food to match. Enter the humble carrot, which was ideal because it could grow at 10,000 feet. I guess if you were allergic to carrots, well then, that's all, folks. 7. The Clone Claim. The Rylands emerged in the early 1970s thanks to a Frenchman named Claude Vorilhon. His legend grew on the basis of him allegedly meeting extraterrestrials while out for a walk. If that doesn't sound wild enough, then how about his claims that Rylands helped create the world's first human clone? After founding an organization called Clonaid, they're said to have grown at least 13 babies. Of course, these claims have been questioned. Also, attention has been drawn to allegations, denied by the founder, concerning Rylands' intimate conduct with young people. 6. Cargo Cult. One jaw-dropping byproduct of the Second World War was cargo cults. The US Air Force accidentally created a group of devotees when dropping supplies from above. Tribes of the South Pacific believed the military aid was actually divine intervention. One example is the Prince Philip movement, founded by locals on the island of Tanna in Vanuatu to the southwest. Images discovered of the then Duke of Edinburgh in the 1960s convinced tribespeople that he was the embodiment of an ancient legend. Some still worship him to this day. 5. Massage Madness. Over in the land down under, the universal medicine movement grabbed headlines thanks to its eye-opening practice of bodily massage. Sports enthusiast Serge Benhayan created the cult in 1999. Hailing from New South Wales, Benhayan was struck by inspiration whilst on the toilet. This led to various bizarre-sounding developments, including the business of EBM, or esoteric breast massage. Seems this group was really hands-on when it came to getting into hot water. 4. The Coconut Cult. Let's go back to the early 20th century, and a man who was nuts about coconuts. German writer August Engelhardt landed on Cabacon Island, part of the Duke of York Islands in Papua New Guinea. He wanted people to join him in A. getting naked, and B. chowing down on coconuts. Engelhardt had form for stripping off, believing that island life was the way to go. Coconuts were the key to his diet, owing to their inspiring skull-like shape. How did he get on? Well, not well. Engelhardt died at the age of 44, 17 years after arriving on the island. 3. When yoga leads to murder. While most people associate yoga and meditation with mindfulness and peace on earth, well, that appeared to be the farthest thing from the mind of Shoko Asahara. Beginning in 1984, his cult Supreme Truth ended up using sarin gas on the Tokyo Metro in an attack that shocked the world back in 1995. The Japanese city of Nagano was also the victim of a similar assault. Asahara was jailed for murder and executed in 2018. 2. Ancient Porn. A steamy piece of text from ancient Egypt provided an insight into cult behaviors approximately 2,000 years ago. Worshippers of the goddess Mut had all kinds of X-rated fun through sex rituals, according to a papyrus that was examined in 2012. Written in the ancient Demotic language, it's reportedly the handiwork of a priest. On a less exciting note, the story of the papyrus seems to be made up in order to get the cult's adult-oriented message across. Sorry. 1. Gadgetology. Cartoons aren't just for kids, and some grown-ups take their animation super seriously. There's perhaps no better evidence of this than the cult of Gadgetology. Referred to as Gekoslave, or the cult of the Radiant Gadget, it focuses its activities on the character of Gadget. She's a cute mechanic who also happens to be a mouse. You're probably familiar with the show Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, in which she appears, and after this, you'll never see it in the same way again. So, were you, or anyone you know, ever in a cult? Let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and check out our social medias, including my personal ones, links in that description below. And you know what? If you enjoyed this list, you will not want to miss 25 shocking facts about Scientology. Speaking of cults. So check that one out. Man, oh, that was a good one. Yeah, click that. Being from Tampa, the Church of Scientology is right in my backyard. Not literally. It's not literally in my backyard. It's in Clearwater. Right? Or St. Pete? It's in Clearwater. One of the two.